Okay, let me address this tweet because I know a lot of you are going crazy. Oh, Fefe is going to miss this and miss that. I actually did tweet that, and I do mean it, both on a lower time frame, meaning a short time frame, and on a long time frame. Now, I'm gonna talk about why I still think that we can have a bounce and how I'm gonna play that. But ultimately, the sell, this tweet, is also going for the higher time frame. There's a bunch of things. I'm not gonna talk a lot about this. I wanna talk about the charts, but inflation came in at 3.8. I see people saying, oh, it came in a notch higher. Yes, but energy commodity inflation is up 30%, gasoline inflation up 30%, airfare inflation 20%, energy inflation 17, 18%. That all comes down to the fact that you can also see oil already, Toyota executive already being alert on the fact that there is going to be a massive oil shortage, and that basically not only sends inflation higher, but also going to ripple down into the economy. You see US household debt hits $18.8 trillion record. That is $154,000 per household. $154,000 debt per household. So all that potentially having a rate hike this year as opposed to the expected rate cuts. Warsh came into office yesterday, the new Fed chair. All this while seeing most of these stocks making 52-week lows. And you can look at the S&P making all highs and the Nasdaq making all highs. But if you really look at the fact that 40% of the S&P is the Magnificent Seven, and you look at that Nvidia alone has a larger market value than the entire healthcare sector of the S&P 500, it makes you wonder and think like, okay, I mean, you can probably top blast this for another 15-20%, but is that really where things are going to go? And are we going to go into a massive spiral before a correction? I personally don't think so. But I'm not here to predict the future. I'm here to actually trade and exactly explain to you why I think what I think. Also, I didn't even mention the fact that there's earthquakes happening now in Tehran, which whoever knows what that means, but that's another story. So let's talk about the charts. Before I do that, I wanted to tell you, if you don't know who I am, my name is Fefe. I do these updates every single day. Been here since 2016. I actually focus on shorter time frame trading. So every day, I give you the setups that I see fit. 22% of you are not subscribed. So subscribe, we want to hit 100,000 subscribers. So let's get going with that one. This is a video that I made 2 weeks ago. I do these every updates, 5 minutes. So subscribe to the channel, by the way. I did it on 27th of April, and I drafted this, and I said that we got to come back to the 77,000-ish region, and that is basically still what I stand with. So down here, if I look at this, it's basically the same setup that we had. What my thinking here is that I still want to see a 4-hour retrace. So what I've drafted up here is exactly what I'm expecting, a 4-hour retrace down to the 50% leg, and then a decision time, right? Because I ultimately think that we have to have a correction, not only on crypto, but in general, I do think that the S&P as well has to correct 15-20%, and then altcoins get slaughtered, but also Bitcoin goes at least back to the sub 70s. So I think we go sub 60, but at least back to the sub 70s, and that will give me, at least, if I'm correct, another 15% down and a confirmed buy. So there's a difference buying down here, which we did February 14th, or buying after a retrace with a confirmation. So ultimately, you have to take it step by step. Here's what I'm doing. I'm waiting for a 50% retrace down here to the 79,000 region, right? Once that happens, first of all, the reason for that, again, you have to come back every day, but I'm going to explain shortly. The reason for that, there's a market structure shift here on the hourly after doing the liquidation, going all the way up here, getting back and breaking below the level that caused the new high. After that, there was a retrace all the way up to this order block and then a break below. Now that retrace is basically coming back to this hourly, and the hammer comes, most likely in my opinion, and then goes down. I reduced my stop loss down here. This is not a stop. I have reduced my stop loss. If you are in the Telegram community, you know this. If you're not, well, then join in, because that's the place to be. There's a link on top of the description. So I do have these short positions opened, and I'm expecting this to come down to at least the 4-hour 50%. Once that happens, there is two scenarios, and this is where the haters gonna go nuts, so please pay attention, right? So one of the scenarios is, which can happen. I mean, this is still, you don't short a market like this, right? So if we get the opportunity, and if it comes back to the 50% in the 4-hour, and if there is going to be a 15-minute market structure shift, I am going to take a long position with a stop loss down here. Why? Because the 4-hour is bullish, and the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. So ultimately, I will be looking for a long position sub 79,000. if we don't break 74,800. If we break below this level and there is a 4-hour, and I think there's going to be also, yeah, that is going to be a daily retrace. There's going to be a daily market structure shift. If this happens, I am going to add to my short positions here, add to my short positions here, and continue lower. I don't know if it happens from here or it happens from here, but I have very little doubt that it does happen. I think that we're coming to an end of any of these rallies. You know, if you look at the daily chart, both on the total market cap and on Bitcoin, the daily high is basically between 90 and 97,000, around here. Could come all the way up here. Now, one thing that is important to know, the 200-day moving average, we're just hitting that. So that basically means that if we go above there, the probability of us pushing for another 10-15% is there. So we'll have to see that. But ultimately, we're at a perfect place for rejection. And therefore, I'm not sure we're going to come back up all the way there. And also, we came back to the 50, both on the weekly and on the daily. I mean, that was a 50% retrace here and there. So ultimately, I am waiting for this retrace to happen, and if that comes back all the way down here, I am going to look for a long position. And if there is not going to be a 15-minute and an hourly market structure shift here, it's just going to bleed further down. I'm just going to add to my short positions and ride it all the way down to sub 70, possibly sub 60. That's basically it. I actually do have the positions. I didn't load them up here, but I do have the positions in. I have 3 Bitfunded accounts that I'm running at the same time. I'm taking it much more chill. I've been taking a lot of gambles with these accounts, but I'm taking it much more chill now. I do have these positions. If you're not familiar with Bitfunded, they are prop fund. There's a link in the description. You can unlock yourself a $100,000 account if you want to. You have to pass these challenges. I'm up about $1,400 on this one, so I have to make 10,000, and then once I make that, I have the account. Guys, appreciate it. Joining the community. I'm going to be traveling, but I'm gonna drop an update tomorrow as well. Make sure to join in the community, link in the description. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and turn the bell notifications on, and make sure that you do whatever the hell you want. You know, don't listen to anybody else. I do believe that that a crash is coming, and I'm not gonna miss anything by not buying here. Take care, guys. Much love.